Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, police say 144 people rescued from boat mishap as President Bola Tinubu orders probe. President Tinubu suspends EFCC chairman from office to pave way for investigation of abuse of office allegations. Commercial banks to freely sell forex at market-driven rates as Nigeria floats naira. And on the foreign scene, Human Rights Watch accuses M23 militia of rape, other war crimes in DR Congo. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Now we begin with police on Wednesday said 144 people have so far been rescued in the boat accidents that occurred in Pategi local government area of Kwara State on Tuesday. The boat conveying wedding guests from a village capsized. The police had confirmed 103 people dead on Tuesday night, but updated the casualty figures to 106. In a statement, the command spokesman, Ajayi Okasomi, said 144 people so far have been rescued in the incident. According to him, the boat reportedly conveyed about 250 people from Boti village after a wedding ceremony to Ebu and Zakan, all within Pategi's local government area, saying a part of the boat close to the engine collapsed, letting water in. President Bola Tinubu has expressed sadness over the boat mishap. The president's commiseration was contained in a statement on Wednesday by Director of Information, Abiodun Oladunjoye. President Tinubu promised that his administration would look into the challenges of inland water transportation in the country to ensure the matter of safety and operational standards are strictly adhered to, adding that immediate relief and necessary assistance should also be provided to the survivors and families of the victims. The House of Representatives on Wednesday has called for active measures by the federal government to mitigate the effects of flooding in the country this year. The motion was brought to the floor at plenary by former Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila on the need for the federal government to proactively put measures in place by giving palliatives to prevent the worst economic or socio-economic consequences for Nigerians in the affected areas. The House also called on the federal government to urgently implement palliative measures to mitigate the effects of fuel subsidy removal. The resignation of Femi Gbajabiamila as members was also read by the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas.
Aware that Nigeria is yet to recover from the 2022 flood, which affected more than 4 million Nigerians, displaced over 2 million people, caused the death of 665 people, damaged about 355,986 houses, and destroyed an estimated total of 944,989 hectares of farmland. The House is also aware that the experience of the 2022 flood caused the federal government of Nigeria to constitute a presidential committee to develop a comprehensive plan of action for preventing flood disasters in Nigeria.
On security, police in Nasarawa State say a 35-year-old Kuje escapee, Haruna Sunday, and 17 other persons have been arrested for alleged kidnapping, armed robbery, and other related crimes across the state. The arrest of the latest escapee brings the number of Kuje escapees to 3 that the police in the state have arrested. Parading all the suspects at the police headquarters in Lafia, the state capital, on Wednesday, the police public relations officer, DSP Rahman Nansel, said Haruna was arrested on June 8, 2023 by a detective attached to Massacre Division.
Upon receipt of the report, police detectives attached to Massacre Division launched a diligent investigation into the case. Consequently, one Haruna Sunday was arrested in connection to the case. Upon interrogation, The suspect confessed to have escaped from Kuje prison when it was attacked in 2022. Investigation is ongoing. Upon conclusion, he shall be handed over to the Nigeria Correctional Services for further necessary action.
So I was sleeping. I started hearing gunshot. Before I discovered they have closed the prison and the gate, they say all of us should go out. So that is where me myself, I find myself outside.
And you escaped?
Yes, sir.
After escaping, instead of you to change and live a new life, you went back into crime.
Yes, sir.
What do you want us to do for you?
Sorry, Pierre. I just want the Nigeria police force to pardon me.
How long?
I will not try it again.
Police said on Tuesday that an attack by gunmen has killed at least 23 people in separate attacks in Jos, Plateau State, in the latest violence within an area struggling with clashes between herders and local farmers. 2 cattle herders were killed on Sunday before 21 farmers were killed in attacks later in several villages, Plateau State Police spokesman Alfred Alabo confirmed. In a statement, Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang said he was saddened by the killings and said the security situation had become alarming. Clashes between nomadic herders and farmers over land, resources and water are common in several parts of Nigeria, including the central and northwestern states. But violence often spirals into attacks and mass kidnappings by heavily armed gangs and vigilante groups set up to protect communities. The local leader of Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Macban Bello Tafawa, told AFP that 2 herders were shot on Sunday evening on their way home in an unprovoked attack. Still on security, troops of Operation Hatledindaji deployed to Safi, local government area of Zamfara State, rescued 10 kidnapped victims while on search and rescue operation. The victims were abandoned by bandits when they noticed Nigerian army troops approaching their hideout. Reports say the victims were abducted by the terrorists while working on their farmlands on June 6. The rescued victims revealed that the terrorists fled and abandoned them when they heard that troops were closing in on them. They were admitted at the General Hospital in Safi for treatment, after which they were reunited with their families. Troops of Operation Hatledindaji are waging a war against the terrorists with a view to flushing them out of Zamfara and other contiguous states to restore peace and order in the troubled northwest. Safi local government area of Zamfara State is one of the flashpoints of terrorist activities and unleashing terror on communities and travelers on the Funtua-Gusau Highway. Kano State Governor Abba Kabir on Wednesday morning continued his demolition exercise in the state by collapsing the multi-million naira roundabout located close to Government House entrance. The governor was said to have personally supervised the demolition of the roundabout, which is only a few meters away from the entrance of the Government House. The roundabout was remodeled and renovated by the immediate past administration of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje at the cost of 160 million naira in 2017. The governor had in the early hours of Sunday demolished shops built by the fence of Sani Abacha Stadium at Kofar Mata, GSS Kofar Nasarawa facing IBB Road, and buildings by GGSS Dukawiya Goran Dutse. The federal government has made some clarifications on the provisions of student loans recently signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Andrew David Adejo, told newsmen on Wednesday that the act is to provide increased literacy level in the country. The Students' Loan Act is set to not only cater for tuition fees alone and can be accessed by indigent students in public and private higher institutions to reduce the financial burdens on institutions and also individuals. The Permanent Secretary was, however, silent on whether tuition fees will be introduced in public universities.
Let us wait to see the acts, and you get the acts when it is transmitted to the Ministry of Justice to produce into a gazette. Ministerial committee finish their work, then they will come out with what they call an operational manual, which will not be different from industry standards of a bank system. But knowing that this is an interest-free loan, knowing that this bank will not only be concerned with student loans, it will perform other banking operations. And in the loan, there are features that the university, you are not applying through, even if it's going to be electronic, you are not applying directly as you apply on site for the scholarship. You are applying through your school. And we should be able to give the school some benefit of that, yes, they should be able to tell us who is indigent and who is not indigent, who is their student and who is not. So they will now, the process will be from the school. That is what the Act contains. But like I said, the operational manuals, the procedures that will be developed for this National Nigerian Education Bank will be able to capture all this. So I think where I sit, I have some comfort that it will be depoliticized.
President Bola Tinubu has suspended Abdulrasheed Bawah, chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. This was announced in a statement by Willie Bassi, Director of Information in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. According to the statement, the suspension of Bawah is to allow for proper investigation into his conduct while in office following allegations of abuse of office leveled against him. Bawah has been directed to immediately hand over the affairs of his office to the Director, Operations in the Commission, who will oversee the affairs of the office of the Chairman of the Commission pending the conclusion of investigation. Former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje has asked a high court to perpetually restrain the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission from inviting or investigating him over video clips allegedly showing him receiving dollars from a contractor. Court papers seen by the cable reveals that a former Attorney General of Kano asked the courts to restrain the anti-graft agency from investigating Ganduje until a suit between him and Jafar, whose online medium, the Daily Nigerian, published the video, is determined. The EFCC is the only defendant in the suit. Ganduje, through the former Kano Attorney General, asked the court to declare that the invitation and interrogation of the State Universal Basic Education Board Chairman and Accountant General of Kano in connection to the video is illegal. The clips released by Daily Nigerian in 2018 showed the former governor allegedly receiving bundles of dollar notes and stuffing them inside his flowing dress. The just inaugurated Senate has adjourned for 2 weeks to enable members to prepare for full legislative activities. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced this shortly after a closed-door session with members on Wednesday. The Senate has constituted a committee to, among other things, see to the welfare of senators for the smooth takeoff of plenary upon resumption in July. Members representing Akko Federal Constituency, Abubakar Muhammad Lugarewo, has been re-elected as Speaker of Gombe State House of Assembly. Lugarewo emerged Speaker of the 7th Assembly unopposed. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail reports from Gombe State.
Government
do solemnly affirm
that
I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true
to
allegiance
the Federal Republic of
to
Nigeria.
the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The immediate Speaker, Abubakar Muhammad Lugereo, emerged Speaker of the 7th Assembly unopposed. Similarly, the member representing Funakae North, Saddam Bello, was elected as the Deputy Speaker of the 7th Assembly. Speaking to newsmen after his inauguration, Lugereo vowed to work for the good interest of the people.
I will do all my best to do justice to the confidence or to the responsibility given to me. They are all aware House of Assembly is a complex institution where you are leading your peers. We all came from various constituencies and we are representing our people, and each and everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but they gather together and agree that I should emerge unopposed.
Well, fundamentally, we are going to set a legislative agenda, which is going to be the first in history of this assembly. We must have an agenda, a target, an objective upon which we want to accomplish at the end of this assembly, and that we are going to come out with it collectively as a team.
The ruling APC has 20 members, while the opposition People's Democratic Party PDP has 4 members in the assembly. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
The Plateau State House of Assembly on Tuesday elected first-time lawmaker Moses Sule as the new Speaker of the House. Honorable Sule, who represents Mikan constituency, was elected unopposed by the members of the House. Adom Musa reports.
The Plateau State House of Assembly comprises of 24 honorable members, out of which 16 are members of the PDP, 7 are of the APC, and 1 from the YPP. Honorable Sule, who came to the House on the platform of the PDP, was the anointed candidate of Governor Caleb Mutfwang. While thanking members of the House for electing him as their Speaker, Honorable Sule called on other members of the House to cooperate with the executive and judiciary to develop the state.
Any differentiation between the different parties that are here as members, the sure thing is that I urge us to please sheath our swords and let us cooperate, be as one for the betterment of Plateau State. We appreciate the fact that our people, our electorates, have bestowed their trust upon us to make sure that to make relevant laws that will bring to the progress and prosperity of Plateau State. To talk a little about the insecurity we are facing today on the Plateau. It is on us to synergize with the relevant bodies, with the executive, the judiciaries, and everyone that comes to offer assistance in one way or the other. Most especially the security agencies within our state.
The Speaker further called on the residents of the state to also cooperate with the House to bring in an end to the security challenges in the state. Adom Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal has urged the new members of the State House of Assembly to unite and work for the interest of the state. Governor Lawal appealed while meeting with the newly inaugurated lawmakers at the council chambers of the Zamfara State Government House in Gusau, the state capital. The governor, in a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Suleiman Idris, urged the parliamentarians to maintain a constructive partnership with the executive arm of government. The Speaker of the House, Honorable Biliaminu Ismail, said the lawmakers will give maximum support and cooperate with the executive arm for the betterment of the state. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, we take a look at effects of indiscriminate refuse dumping. Do stay with us.
That's great.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory are hereby alerted to the activities of scavengers, also known as Babambula, which security agencies have identified as a high-level security threat to not only the residents but also to our infrastructure as they perpetrate petty stealing and acts of vandalism on public utilities. More so, they are drug peddlers, serve as spies to terrorist elements, and are ready-made tools for the public disturbances during which they attack people with dangerous weapons. The Federal Capital Territory Administration therefore reiterates that the ban on scavengers aka Babambula operating within the Federal Capital City is still in force. These miscreants are advised to stay off the streets of the Federal Capital City for their own good, as defaulters will be apprehended and prosecuted, including parents of underage children involved in these practices. Relevant agencies are carrying out enforcement of this ban as stipulated. Be law-abiding always. Let's together build the FCT of our dreams. Management announcer.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our major stories. We told you that police say 144 people rescued from boat mishap as President Bola Tinubu orders probe. We also heard that President Tinubu suspends EFCC chairman from office to pave way for investigation of abuse of office allegations. Moving to more news, mild drama ensued at the Presidential Elections Petitions Tribunal sitting in Abuja on Wednesday as counsel to Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi chastised chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission for refusing to obey court order directing him to furnish them with more documents to prove their case in court. Counsel to INEC, Kemi Pinheiro, SAN, interjected the verbal attacks raised by Livy Ozoku, SAN, that the claims were just excuses seeking adjournment of proceedings. The lawyer said that PDP had served the INEC chairman court summons, which they have responded to. Labour Party then tendered 143 certified true copies of documents in respect to IREV reports of 7 states, namely Benue, Niger, Edo, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Gombe, and Kaduna. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, also presented another witness who is a statistician. The witness will be cross-examined on Thursday. The suspended chairmen of the 17 local government councils of Plateau State have resumed work, defying their suspension by the state governor, Caleb Mutfwang. The embattled chairmen were suspended on June 1st following the State Assembly's recommendation over alleged misappropriation of funds. Ado Musa completes the report.
Governor Mutfwang has soon after the suspension of the elected chairman appointed 17 interim chairpersons to oversee the affairs of the councils. But the suspended chairman declared that the governor lacked the powers to suspend them or take such action against them. The refusal of the suspended chairman to vacate their offices as directed by the governor has prevented the new interim chairpersons to resume offices. Some of the suspended chairmen explain why they resume office despite the suspension.
Well, I'm here today to confirm to my people in Kanam local government that there's no law either in the Nigerian constitution or local government constitution that says the House of Assembly or Mr. Governor has that power to dissolve elected council. If there is any petition, assuming but not conceding to the fact that if there is petition, it should be against the chairman. And the chairman should have a copy of that petition for him to respond. That is fair hearing. And in the process of investigation, my deputy, who is sitting by me, should have been asked to take over pending the final investigation. But I have not seen the copy of that petition till today, and therefore that made me, or that made Algon to run to court.
As I speak to you now, it was generalized. Auction, there are procedures, there are laid down procedures, I mean, for all those things. And if peradventure auction was held in this local government, even before the coming of this administration, where have I actually ate? If I may ask you that question, because all procedures were followed. So what makes it illegal? And I am the executive chairman. I know sometimes in this local government, let me not speak for any other local government. I know sometimes in February this year, auctions were made.
Reports from various local councils indicate that the suspended chairman have resumed duties on the ground that a Jos High Court has issued an order restraining the governor from suspending the chairman. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
The task force on environmental sanitation constituted by Sokoto State Governor Ahmed Aliyu has called for evacuation of solid waste in the state. Some major roads in the state metropolis have been taken over by refuse because the designated sites for dumping refuse are overstretched. Abubakar Imam reports that the task force chairman, Umar Nkwabo, blamed the previous administration for not paying attention to environmental sanitation, thus leaving residents to dump refuse indiscriminately. The report.
Residents of Sokoto State heaved a sign of relief after the refuse, which had formed fountains of embarrassment in the state metropolis, had been evacuated by the task force committee constituted by the state government. The residents had been complaining about the indiscriminate dumping of refuse along the major roads, disrupting vehicular movements. This refuse has been here for 6 months because the previous administration didn't pay attention to it, despite series of complaints from the residents. But the residents have spoken. They have done their part by removing their garments and this should serve as a lesson to our leaders. They should try to be fair and just. This refuse is a source of concern, especially during this rainy season, when people can easily contract disease. We will ensure all refuse are evacuated. I'm appealing to the general public to support these governments by dumping refuse on the designated sites. An environmental sanitation tribunal will soon be inaugurated to deal with those who are violating environmental law. The 27-member committee, been led by Umaru Kobo AA, a businessman and philanthropist, today flag off mass refuse evacuation exercise at the Al-Mustafa roads. According to the committee, the exercise will last for 2 weeks.
News hour resumes after this short break. Welcome back. Now moving on to more stories. As important as hospitals are, most villages in Benue State have no first aid clinics to attend to the sick. The government, civil society organizations and individuals have so much to do in the area of health management. Jimmy Adzande visited one of such villages and reports.
For those who do not have first-hand experience, it is like a fairy tale about the lack of health facilities in the villages. In Fada, an isolated village in Guma local government area of Benue State, the community health extension worker appears to be the only option.
So I learned that these people are having problem of this hospital or something. So I came here. But my problem is I'm encountering a lot of problems, like transportation to get drugs. Right now I'm from a Lebolo. A woman came and drove her here. Our problem is we don't get the drugs available here very quick, and where to get them is very difficult because of the condition of the road. So that's our major problem here.
Due to hospitals that were government owned no longer exist. We are going through terrible times in this village. Looks like we do not have a government anymore. This is actually not good enough. Many who spoke lamented that mortality rate is high in the village because of the lack of health facilities. They said it wasn't the situation. The rains have cut out the villagers from neighboring communities because of poor road networks.
Where we used to go and buy drugs, as it is this during this rainy season now, we used to have a lot of problems. So government should see to that, and government should come. They say it is government that say we should take her to grassroots. So the problem is to get drugs and the load. That is our major problem here.
So if the government knows that we are a people, this is the right time for them to come to our aid and make sure that our pains are eradicated. Our people need a life. Our people need to transport. They need to go out to the environment and interact with other people like normal human beings. So the government really needs to come to our aid. Otherwise, the sufferings are too much.
Sad as it is, a baby was delivered as at the time of this report, and the community health extension worker said there were no drugs nor means to travel out to get some.
World Blood Donor Day is marked in Lagos with the State Transfusion Service encouraging Nigerians to give blood to save lives. The day is marked at the State Secretariat in Alausa, Ikeja. The report.
Despite the heavy downpour, people gathered to commemorate the 2023 World Donor Day with the theme, Give Blood, Give Plasma, Share Life, Share Often. Speaking to journalists at the Alausa Secretariat, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, represented by Permanent Secretary of the State, Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Oboye, encouraged people to give blood and share life.
The point is to encourage people to give blood. That when you give blood, you share life. And so, like I said, giving blood is almost like giving an organ for transplant, but it's an organ that replaces itself very quickly. So it's always available for you to give again and again. And blood that you don't really need. You can give a pint of blood. It doesn't do you any harm, but it can be the difference between life and death for other people.
From the Lagos State University, Professor Dosunmu Adedoyin says that Nigerians should trust and have confidence and build a social support system whereby youths can come and donate voluntarily to those who are about to lose their lives.
It's for those who are donating to try and donate like 2 times in a year regularly. You can donate from the age of 18 to the age of 65. As long as you don't have any other disease, you can always donate. And this will keep you fit because you know that in 3-4 months' time, you are going to donate again. You try to keep fit. You try to avoid infections because you want to qualify to give safe blood to save somebody else's life.
The Director of Pathology and Laboratory Science in the Ministry, Dr. Babafemi Thomas, said the best way for government to encourage citizens to give blood to others is through education.
When you actually educate people and they understand the value and they understand that there's really nothing fetish to do about it, you actually realize that a lot of people have a good heart and they are willing to give this product. You understand? It's just that barrier of that fetish that they are thinking that maybe their blood products will be eventually used for ritual purposes that will work against their own success in life. So I think that's the major thing, education.
Medical professionals believe that giving blood keeps one fit and healthy.
Commercial vehicle drivers in Adamawa State express fear that the fuel subsidy removal, which has forced transport fares hike, may in the long run render them jobless. Silas Lawan reports.
The hardship have increased at least from 60 to 95% now.
Since the pronouncement of the removal of fuel subsidy last month, transport have gone up in Adamawa State. Some commercial drivers at the Paluja Motor Park in Jamaica, while speaking on the hardship caused by the fuel subsidy removal, made passionate appeal for measure to ease their sufferings.
Even some drivers, they are losing their work because there's no money to buy fuel. Even you can buy fuel, where are you carrying them to? Bible. So people are now staying for house. And therefore, government can accept at least you have to drop it down small.
Before they remove this subsidy, we are carrying from here to Jalingo is 2,005, Gombe 3,000, Mubi we are carrying 3,000, Fufore 500, Green 700 naira. But now as they remove the subsidy, passenger they are not available because of increasing of the fuel. Now the thing we are carrying from here to Jalingo is 3,005. Gombe is 4,000. So we are begging for federal government to look at the matter, to even if they can return the subsidy matter is more better.
Passengers are also taking the heat of the subsidy removal as they express divergent views.
Yes, in terms of the fuel increment due to this fuel subsidy is affecting every passenger. I came to the park, and formally when I come to the park, in just like 30 minutes the vehicle is filled and everybody moved to his own destination. But presently now I've spent like going to 2 hours to get a vehicle to be filled. It's just because of the increments. People cannot meet up their doings because we are managing already before this subsidy, and now it's shocking every one of us.
I'm into commercial driving from Zaria to Yola and some northeastern state. Before the fuel subsidy removal, I used to spend 17,000 naira to get full tank. But now I need 47,000 naira to do so. We want the government to see the need of easing the hardship. Government had argued that subsidy removal will free up resources for the state to provide infrastructure and other essential services. Silas Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. More stories shortly.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Treated a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
That's great. Good to see you.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has directed commercial banks to sell forex freely at market-determined rates. The move signals the official floating of the naira. The development means buyers and sellers of foreign currency in the official FX market are now allowed to quote rates they find comfortable in the FX market as against previous practice where rates were dictated by the Apex Bank. Customers who cited emails received from their banks at the investors and exporters window is now quoting a range of between 750 naira and 755 naira to the dollar. That implies a 21% decline in the value of naira compared to the previous rate of official rate of 463 naira to the dollar. The latest move by the CBN follows President Bola Tinubu's suspension of CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, whose monetary policies had become a stumbling block to investors and the economy. Nigeria's oil production increased to 1.18 million barrels per day in May of 2023. According to data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC), the current output level represents an 18.53% rise compared to April 2023, when the yield was 998,602 barrels per day. The figure also represents a 15.55% growth from the corresponding period of 2022, when Nigeria recorded 1.024 million barrels per day output. With the addition of condensate, the NUPRC said oil production rose from 1.245 million barrels per day in April to 1.47 million barrels per day in May. But despite the increase, the oil output of the country is still below the 1.74 million barrels per day quota of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. Earlier in the month, OPEC Plus decided to extend the recent voluntary cuts made by member states until the end of 2024. The oil cartel also revealed plans to cut Nigeria's production level to 1.38 million barrels per day starting from January 2024. And finally, Nigeria's company income tax experienced a significant decline of 37.79% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, plunging from 753.88 billion naira in quarter 4 2022 to 469.01 billion naira in quarter 1 of 2023. According to the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), local payments accounted for 300.78 billion naira, while foreign CIT payments contributed 168.23 billion naira during the same period. The NBS report further revealed that in terms of sectoral contributions, water supply, sewerage, waste management and remediation activities recorded the lowest growth rate at negative 69.38%, followed by other services activities at negative 60.13%. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Now, on the foreign scene, Human Rights Watch has published a damning report accusing the M23 militia of committing murder, rape, and other war crimes in the volatile East, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in recent months. In the report, HRW said it had so far documented 8 unlawful killings and 14 cases of rape by M23 fighters. The group, whose members are predominantly ethnic Tutsis from Rwanda, have captured swaths of territory in DRC's North Kivu province since taking up arms in late 2021 after years of dormancy, with over 1 million people displaced by the fighting. Meanwhile, Kigali has dismissed the rights group's report. Government spokesperson Yolande Makolo said Rwanda is not going to be intimidated by these campaigns of disinformation and distractions from ongoing regional peace efforts. Now in sports, a friendly football match in Madala town, Niger State, turned into mourning following sudden death of the referee who was reportedly hit by thunder. The deceased, simply known as Mustafa Coach O2, met his tragic death on Tuesday evening during the match played in the community's school football pitch. An eyewitness, Muhammad Musa, said the match played between Suleja and Madala youths went into half-time break when the incident happened. A family member of the deceased said the funeral prayer was held in respect of the deceased on Wednesday morning in Suleja town, where he lived with his family. And now let's join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
The Nigerian Football Federation General Secretary Mohammed Sanusi has confirmed the submission of the squad list of Nigerian Women's National Team Super Falcons for 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup to be hosted by Australia and New Zealand. The NFL scribe affirmed that the list has been submitted to FIFA ahead of the Mundial. The 9-time African champions have made it to every edition of Women's World Cup since 1991, with its best performance a quarter-final at the tournament in 1999 under late coach Ismaila Mabo. Round the world run, we hope to replicate and surpass the record with Super Falcons. And still on football, Super Falcons striker Cesar Oshuala believes players will be inspired by the financial rewards FIFA is putting in place for the Women's World Cup. FIFA had announced plans to pay individual players participating in the upcoming tournament $30,000 for group stage appearance. 5-time African Player of the Year, Oshuala says the funds going straight to players rather than federations is a major step forward. Reigning African champions South Africa, Nigeria, Morocco and Zambia will represent Africa in Australia and New Zealand. Member associations will receive increased funding based on performance, with winners taking home $4.29 million and delegations earning $1.5 million for participating in the group stage. Nigeria will open their campaign against Canada in Melbourne before facing Australia and the Republic of Ireland in Brisbane as the tournaments kick off on 28 July 2023. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.